While most countries do have a form of personal income tax, there are still some countries that do not have any income tax on individuals for their personal income earnings. In these countries in which there is no income tax, it is important to note that there are still normally other types of ancillary income that are taxed. But, if taxpayers plan properly, they may be able to avoid taxes in that country. As of today, there are 16 countries with no income tax in the world. However, you may not be able to get residence or citizenship in all of them, and some of them aren't exactly the most livable. Nevertheless, here are the top 10 countries with no income taxes. 10. United Arab Emirates. According to the Index of Economic Freedom, the United Arab Emirates is the 10th freest economy in the world thanks to its openness to trade and low taxes. Like most of its Arabian neighbors, the UAE earns plenty of money from oil exports, so residents can live there tax-free. It is also one of the easier Gulf countries to live and invest in. The government of the UAE openly encourages foreign investment, and cities like Dubai are well known for their entrepreneurial spirit. The UAE is also highly livable by most standards, especially in terms of safety and development. While it is a fairly conservative country, the UAE is multicultural and more tolerant than some of its neighbors. Becoming a resident of the UAE is also easier than in other Gulf countries. While a permanent residence program for foreign investors does not exist, its visa policies are becoming easier to navigate. The government has even recently started to issue 10-year residence visas. As an international hub for trade and finance, the UAE is one of the more appealing countries with no income tax. 9. Qatar. Qatar is a small wealthy country that earned its fortune through the oil industry. Its culture is highly conservative yet rapidly modernizing thanks to foreign investment and influence. And of course, its oil and gas revenue allows the government to stay afloat without levying an income tax. Despite its similarities, Qatar is a fascinating country due to its particularly high level of development and role in world politics. Despite its small size, Qatar has the highest per capita income in the world, and many regard it as the most developed country in the Middle East. The country also plays a unique role in global and regional politics. Qatar is also a relatively peaceful and pleasant place to live, and it's the only Gulf country to offer permanent residence for expats. That being said, like most countries with no income tax, it's still difficult for foreigners to attain permanent residence since requirements are strict and few lawyers specialize in the area. To even be eligible, you must have lived in the country for over 20 years and you must be able to understand and speak Arabic. 8. Oman. Like most of the Middle Eastern countries on this list, Oman is a wealthy and entrepreneurial nation that has no need for income tax thanks to its oil and gas industry. Despite its massive oil and gas reserves, Oman has made a distinct effort to diversify its economy and open its markets to new opportunities. This makes it a great alternative to the UAE for investors looking for new opportunities in the Gulf. The Omani government even offers an investor residence visa on its website. However, specifics like minimum investments aren't readily available, and none of the lawyers in the region specialize in this area. As with most wealthy Middle Eastern countries, Oman isn't exactly dying for foreign capital, so expats looking to move there usually need a job or family in the country to do so easily. Oman is an interesting option among countries with no taxes, but living there long-term isn't generally in the cards for most nomad capitalists. 7. Monaco. Monaco's status as one of the world's best countries with no taxes has turned it into a playground for the European elite. This gorgeous country on the French Riviera is safe and luxurious, yet it charges its residents and citizens a total of zero income tax. Plus, since the country tends to attract high-income, tax-averse individuals, it will likely remain among countries with no income tax for the foreseeable future. It's also one of the easier tax-free countries to become a citizen in. For those of you who prefer European glamour to island life, then living tax-free in Monaco may be the right choice. 6. Kuwait. Like many of the Gulf countries on this list, Kuwait doesn't need to levy an income tax thanks to its large oil industry. It's also one of the most expat-friendly countries in the world. Foreign citizens make up 2/3 of the population, and its capital, Kuwait City, is highly Americanized and easy to navigate. Obtaining permanent residency in Kuwait requires you to have Kuwaiti relatives or formal employment with the country. It also doesn't have much need for foreign investment, so citizenship by investment is not possible here. Living permanently in Kuwait's tax-free haven, then, is near impossible, so I wouldn't base your tax strategy here. 5. Cayman Islands. The Cayman Islands is a small island country that draw in enough tourists to keep its government afloat without the need for income tax. Mainly through its scenic beaches and perfect weather. However, if you want to live in the Cayman Islands for a long term, be prepared to invest a considerable amount of money in the country. You will need to be making $145,000 per year and invest at least $600,000 in real estate or local companies if you want to live on Grand Cayman, and from there, you will need to wait another 8 years for permanent residence. And, as in most Caribbean countries, the more money that you invest, the more easily you can obtain permanent residence. The Cayman Islands can therefore be an interesting zero-tax option if you have the money to invest in becoming a permanent resident. 4. Brunei. This tiny sultanate on the Malaysian island of Borneo also has enough oil wealth to forego income tax. Just like many countries with no income tax, oil and gas revenues are used to finance most of the government spending in Brunei. Current government plans provide for workforce modernization, unemployment reduction, and strengthening both banking and tourism sectors. However, unlike other countries on this list, Brunei is very difficult to live in. It's not very friendly to foreigners, and the government is heavy-handed and dictatorial. Permanent residence and citizenship are also out of question. Unless you somehow gain the approval of the Sultan. Brunei mostly just exemplifies how countries with no income tax are not necessarily hubs of economic freedom. 3. Bermuda. Bermuda is a British territory in the North Atlantic Ocean known for its pink sand beaches, and for its zero income tax. It does have a payroll tax though. Bermuda has a population of just 62,000 residents, and doesn't have any residence or citizenship by investment programs. If you want to visit this friendly island, you can stay for 3 to 6 months with a short-term permit visa. You can also live there on a work permit that's usually issued for 1 to 5 years, sometimes even longer. 2. Bahrain. Bahrain was one of the first states in the Persian Gulf to discover oil on its lands. This oil discovery has allowed it to become one of the wealthiest nations in the world, and one of the few countries with no income tax. It's also fairly easy to live here. The capital of Bahrain, Manama, is well developed, and there is a sizable expat community here. However, the problem with Bahrain and many other Gulf states is that getting permanent residence can be difficult. To establish a permanent residence in Bahrain, you need to be retired, invest $135,000 in property, or invest $270,000 in a Bahraini company. While getting permanent residence in Bahrain is possible, citizenship is another story. You need to live in the country for 25 consecutive years and be fluent in Arabic. The Bahamas. As one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, it's no wonder why the Bahamas doesn't need to charge income tax to make ends meet. Plus, with its stunning beaches and fast-growing economy, the Bahamas is one of the most livable countries with no income tax. Establishing a second resident here is not too difficult either. As long as you have the money. Getting a temporary residence permit is as simple as paying $1,000 at the immigration office, and it's renewable every year. As a general rule, the more money that you invest in the Bahamas, the more likely you will be treated favorably by the immigration office. You won't pay much in taxes in the Bahamas, but you will need to spend a substantial amount of money to live there. In the long run, though, it could be worth it to pay no taxes while lounging by the beach. So, there you have it, viewers. The top 10 countries with no income tax. Make sure to give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Thanks for watching this one, catch you all in the next.